Right. Hello, everybody. This is an update from the Greg Heiar, Was He a Scapegoat? Episode 26 of New Mexico's Basketball State podcast. I'm Russell Lee Groulet. And a few things have happened since then. We've had a new civil suit filed by Kyle Fiat, former basketball player for New Mexico State, and a former player who wishes to be anonymous as John Doe 1, and a former, he might be former, student manager John Doe 2. And this civil suit alleges a lot of guns in the locker room during that time period and things like that. So we're going through that. We also have sexual allegations accusing DeShondre Washington, Kim Aiken, and also Dr. Bradley, former players at New Mexico State last season. And then we also have, a couple days afterwards, we had A.G. Torres, New Mexico Attorney General Raul Torres, had also brought forth 37 felonies, grand jury indictments against these same individuals I just named. And so we're up to there now as far as this whole thing continues, is the drama that is New Mexico State basketball last season. And so there'll be a hearing this month on the 22nd where they will plead guilty to those felonies or not guilty to those felonies. So that's what the hearing's going to be all about. And so it's going to be a very interesting time. I don't expect too many fireworks. They're charged with felonies. These are second-degree felonies. Now, there's 5 categories of felonies. Capital felonies, which is in this case is not listed, and then you also have first, second, third, and fourth degree felonies. These all carry carry mandatory sentences. So I don't see any probation or anything like that coming if these 3 individuals who will be the defendants are convicted. So we're looking at that. They're looking at a lot of jail time if they are convicted of these things that they are being charged with by Attorney General Torres. So this is kind of what we know. We know that there was a grand jury, which means that certain people were selected to review testimony and things of that nature, and they were to determine if some crimes had been committed. And then I am going to assume that special investigators came out and tried to find that evidence, and I believe they did, according to Raul Torres, who spoke on Channel 13 KRQE in an interview about 4 days ago of this video, 4 or 5 days ago, I would say, where he said that they have social media posts and they also have video in real time. So right there is evidence that they're claiming that they have that shows that these allegations to possibly be true. Again, they got to be presented in court, and then everything's got to be argued out. Now, I should add that the defendants do not have an attorney that I know of, but if they do have one, he or she will be present on the 22nd at the hearing on the at Las Cruces District Court. So that's what's going on right there with all of that. I've discovered a few basic facts myself, since following this thing and since doing that episode about 3 weeks ago that kind of went over the whole time period and timeline. I've discovered that there are faculty athletic representatives. These are faculty that are selected by the athletic director, and they on the side, it's the operations manual for New Mexico State University, and on the side it states that the athletic director or the president, or in this case at that time was Chancellor Dan Arvizo, who are the ones that select these faculty athletic representatives, and and this is a very interesting fact, they travel with the teams on the road, whether it be planes, buses, or anything like that, they travel with the teams, and there's usually 1 to 2. And I believe there's about 6 to 8 overall within the athletic department. Now, these folks deal with committees and things like that nature and dealings with the NCAA. So they travel on the road with the teams. And so this is kind of interesting because when you look at these civil lawsuits, the 2 that were filed by Jolene Youngers, the one that was filed for William Deuce Benjamin and Shaq Odenewu, there's no real mention of these faculty athletic representatives because they mention incidents that have happened on the bus and other areas. These lawsuits always mention the coaches and the players, but they never mention these faculty athletic representatives who answer to the athletic director and the president, according to the operations manual. I'm going to assume chancellor, of course, during that time period. And they're not mentioned in those lawsuits whatsoever. You do not see them. In fact, only one is mentioned, and it's only because he had Mike Peake's tablet after the shooting that happened last November, about the same time as about a year ago. It's already been a year since that shooting. So he's the only one that is mentioned. Okay, so that's very interesting. So you find out that these traveling parties, when they go on the road, they have quite a few coaches, about 5 or so. They have a sports information director, and they also have the radio personality, I would assume, the play-by-play, and I would imagine the trainer, along with these faculty athletic representatives. None of those people are mentioned in these civil lawsuits whatsoever. You do not hear or see anything mentioned about them. It's always players and coaches, but never any of these other people. And so when you start doing a head count, you're talking about 5 or 6 people there, give or take. And so that's quite interesting. That's a lot of eyes to be there on the bus or on the plane or at the hotel to be able to, recognize what's going on and possibly see what's going on. Because the question is presently being asked and has been asked for the last year is, why didn't anybody react when these actions, these incidents, these attacks, however words you want to use, happened? And so that's a pretty big question right there. Why aren't these people mentioned in any of these civil lawsuits? Now, going back to A.G. Torres, this is another interesting aspect. He mentions that he has these videos and he has these social media posts, and he said real time in that KRQE interview where there's video, and he describes it as horrific. But what's interesting is that when you read his documents, and they're on his website, you can look those up for all 3 defendants, Kim Aiken Jr., Dr. Bradley, and DeShondre Washington. You can look all those things up. You will notice that they don't really pin down dates or times. They kind of state like, well, it happened on this day or between this day and maybe a week later. You notice that a lot. And when you look at the indictments, it appears that there might have been about 5 or 6, give or take, going back into the summer. And the indictments stop at November 18th, which was, I believe, the day before, that was the day of the Mike Peake shooting, actually. So, I have some questions there. You don't see any indictments going any further than that. So December and January, it appears they don't have any indictments for those date periods, those months. And let's see, GH was fired in February, early February. So you don't have a period between December and January in the indictments. So I guess we're left to assume that maybe everything stopped, or maybe nobody was accused for doing anything during those time periods. There's just a lot of questions there. It's kind of open-ended. You're left to speculate as to what's going on there. So that's kind of how I see it right now. Just a lot of questions, a lot of moving parts. It is difficult to even, put together a show and try to go over all those things because everything keeps changing, and it could change within the next day or two, and everything that you go over is completely outdated. But, those are the primary questions. Why aren't these faculty athletic representatives mentioned at all in any of these lawsuits? Because they may very well have been witnesses to either tell the truth as to what really happened, if those three defendants actually committed those crimes, or if they didn't commit those crimes. That's the question. Those are another set of eyes there, and they directly answer to the athletic director and the university president, according to the operations manual of New Mexico State University. Now, again, you can find those on their website. You can find all that information. It's just basic procedural stuff, but it does point out that they are there, and that they are on the road trips and that sort of thing. And it does point out that they're available, and I imagine they still are available. So there's some other things too. Just a small tidbit that was quite interesting is that I was able to find that Jason Hooten, the new Aggie basketball coach, who was hired around March or so, was investigated for possible retaliation against a former player from the GH era, the Greg Heiar era. And so he was being investigated by a private law firm. Tired. Anyways, so he was being investigated by this law firm. And this is a separate investigation by itself. I haven't found what the results were, and it seems like they're gonna keep that private. So we don't really know what that was all about. But Jason Hooten was investigated too for this possible retaliation. And so that's quite interesting. It looks like there's all kinds of different things going on. And again, like I said, it's very fluid. Today is like the 14th that I'm filming this, probably be up by the 15th. So we got another 7 days or so before this hearing. And I'm not sure if we're going to get anything shocking, bombshells or anything. I'm not sure how these defendants, Kim Aiken Jr., Dr. Bradley, DeShondre Washington, are going to plead. I have no idea. As of right now, I don't know if they even have attorneys to represent them. So if they don't, I imagine they will be assigned attorneys once that hearing is completed and how they plead. And so we're going to keep on going on, and maybe possibly I'll do another episode on it to update all of you, because this is very fluid. I have a feeling there might be some more bombshell stuff. I have found some stuff that makes you kind of go, So, check my Facebook, Twitter for that type of stuff. If I decide to post that stuff, and for those of you who are interested and have been following this whole ordeal, it really is an ordeal, but we still got a ways to go before the finish line as to what really happens, and then what type of justice will be served. And we'll see what happens there. And so that's just a little bit of an update. And I'm going to have my top 10 preseason player picks up pretty soon, because the season is almost here. High school, 4A and 5A. Going to have my 4A and 5A top 5 team picks. And so be on the lookout for those on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. And I might do a whole show on that. Still debating. Again, I've been doing this and that, so it's been kind of a lot of work right now. So until then, stay tuned. I'll give you more updates like this type of video. So we'll see you then. You have a great night. And be sure to check for more updates. And we'll see you then. Bye-bye.